Hello, everyone. Welcome to Gen Talks, a podcast where we talk about listening to our intuition, trusting our gut, channeling our inner voice, our self awareness, love, relationships, emotions. We all have them, but we don't want to talk about them. How to cope with the loss of a loved one and what those healthy coping mechanisms look like, the rules of fitness, and so much more. My name is Jennifer, spelled with two N's, but I'm a Jen with one N. I know it can be a little complicated, but I like to keep it simple. And that's why it's Jen, well, with one N. I was born and raised in New Jersey, went to college at Suffolk University in Boston. And a little fun fact for you, I had my own radio show for 3.5 years where I played music, talked about the lyrics, the band, the musicians, because at that time, I really wanted to work in the music industry. I wanted to promote underground music and bring it to light for others to hear what I'm hearing. Unfortunately, right before my senior year of college, my mom passed away from a very rare form of cancer, which caused a major shift in my life, but also really tossed the apple cart. But I will go into more detail on how I coped on a separate episode where I talk about coping with the loss of a loved one and what those healthy coping mechanisms really are. I eventually decided to pursue a career in pastry and took a leap of faith by moving down to Florida to help open Amorette's Patisserie right in Disney Springs. So hold on here. If you haven't been there, you have to go. And I want you to grab a little pen and paper because here's some recommendations for you. You got to have the New York style cheesecake, the pistachio eclair, the salted caramel eclair. I'm not even kidding. Okay. The Amorette's Petite signature, very complex layers, but divine. Also, the key lime tart. I think you need to get everything. Just get everything. But I digress. Let's bring it back to what we're going to talk about today. So, after being out of school for 6 years, I took another risk and went to graduate school to get my MBA. And I completely forgot what a PowerPoint was. Like, what's a presentation? How do I write a paper? What's an Excel document? What's my name? Who am I? Right? But just like with anything new, I figured it out. I had a radio show for a few months where I talked about music, but always had the idea in the back of my mind of what if I have a podcast, right? Where I talk about love, relationships, how to cope with the loss of a loved one, how technology interferes with human connection and in relationships, and so much more. But perhaps it wasn't my time because I had to walk through a lot more in life to gather more experiences to get me to this point right now. To gather more experiences, channel my intuition and my inner voice, access my self awareness to get to this moment where I said, enough is enough. To enter the stage where I rip the band aid off and finally take the first step on this journey of starting my very own podcast called Gen Talks. So, why am I here? Yeah, Jen, why are you here? There are so many podcasts out there. What are you doing here? Well, you know what? Calm down. Don't give me that attitude. Okay? But I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm here because this is naturally where my mind goes. I'm here because I want to share what I know and help others, help you to help yourself, and to understand that we are all in this together. On Gen Talks, we don't talk about the weather. We are perspective focused. We get to the point. We get to the core of what is really going on, to the root of it all. And we don't sugarcoat. It's the real deal. It's the truth. I'm a Virgo. Okay? We get right to the point. We don't do this whole fluffy business. We get right to the root of it all. We get to the core. We analyze. But I digress. On Gen Talks, we do not associate with the I mentality, right? But the we mentality. It's not about me. It's not about me, with all that ego and crap. No, it's about us. And that's why I'm here. So, what made me decide to finally rip this band aid off? I started noticing a trend that when I get involved in conversations with people that I just met, I barely even know them. Within a few minutes, I already know about their personal lives and any issues they are facing. Another sign is I'm having very close one-on-one conversations with my really close friends. Within minutes of them telling me about what they're going through, or it could be what their friend is dealing with or a family member, I'm able to pick up on the emotion, analyze it, and provide my perspective as to why they truly feel that way. I find myself literally saying out loud, and my friends will attest to this. They're like, yeah, Jen, we've heard this so many times. But I find myself saying out loud to them, like, what am I doing? I should have my own podcast or write a book. And it's about time I do. I remember about a week or so ago, I was at the gym. One of my very close friends called me with something that she's been going through for quite a bit some time. And I said to her, do you feel this way because of A, B, C, D, and E that's all caused by this one root? This is the root cause. She said, yes. And the way she said yes made it sound as if I just cracked the code, that I hit the nail on the head, that I solved the mystery. I had my Sherlock Holmes hat on, and I just solved the whole case. But I remember telling her too that I feel like I have so much untapped potential. And what am I doing with it? It's all built up inside. But I'm sure you feel that same way too. Where you have this idea in mind or a goal you really want to achieve, and you know, right? You know you can do it. You know you can get there. But something is holding you back. Something's holding you back. What is it? It's fear. It's fear. And that ties into our topic for today of fear, but maybe it also links to perfection as well. When it comes to fear, you have two different paths that you can walk down. So fear also has two separate abbreviations. So FEAR. Here we go. You can either face everything and run, right? The fight or flight response, you can run away from your problems, not be accountable, run away from your emotions, run away from commitment, just run, 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 run. Or, and this is my favorite one, are you ready? You can face everything and rise. Which will you take? Do I feel fear? Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I do. And if I didn't, I would be lying to you. And that is not what Gen Talks is all about. Before I started recording, my heart was racing. I felt the anxiety right in my gut. But I said to myself, listen, this is about conveying a message. And the point that I'm trying to make is that even though I'm scared, I am still here. I'm fighting through it, even though I'm scared, because fear is there to guide you where you need to go. And so the next time you feel fear and the anxiety settles in, I want you to fight. Fight through it, and I promise it will get easier. And what you are pouring yourself into will get easier and will become second nature. I am scared because I'm finally ripping this imaginary band-aid off that I've been talking about for the past 5 minutes and starting this podcast, not knowing if it'll be well received, if people will like it, listen to it, or if it will help them. But hey, if you don't take a chance in life or take a risk, then you'll never know. Fear stems from the amygdala or the ancient brain, which goes all the way back to the caveman era. The amygdala is designed to keep human beings safe, right? To keep you in your tribe and your cocoon. It acts as protection, but it can hold us back too. As human beings, we are designed to stay in our comfort zone, stay in our small circle due to the fear or danger of or any outside, or any outside threat coming in. But if we perceive anything new as a threat, then we won't grow and we'll stay stuck. We'll stay stuck in this energy and in this mindset of a lack mentality and also playing it safe. But where's the growth in that? We have to progress and move forward, because if we stay stuck and don't pursue what it is that we truly want to pursue in this life, forget it. The ancient brain also has a tendency to chime in and have you focus on everything that you don't have. That's the lack mentality. For example, I'm going to wait until I am happy before I go on my dream vacation. Okay, but why are you waiting? Why can't you just go? You have one life to live. You have to live it. Or I'm going to wait until I have $1 million in my account before I start my own business. Okay. I understand that money will help you kind of grow your business. I get that. But why can't you start somewhere? Another example, I'm going to wait until Monday to start working out, eating healthy. Okay, but why can't you start now? Why can't you make a small change that will help you shift for the better? For example, instead of that soda, have a club soda with a little bit of lime. I'm a club soda girl, right? Put a little bit of a lime juice in there, lime wedge. I'm good in the hood. But I'm trying to say it doesn't have to be this grandiose change. It could be something so small that will be a catalyst for something so big. And one of my favorite books, it's called The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. I have it right here. It's a little book club with Gen Talks. And I found out about this book by my entrepreneurial professor in grad school, Dr. Pete McClendon. And this was back in 2018. He talked about it. I didn't read this book until last year. So I'm glad I did because this was a game changer to me. So if you haven't heard of it, check out The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. Go to your local bookstore, Amazon, whatever it is, but I highly recommend it because it changed my life and I think it might help you as well. But this book actually talks about the difference between the amygdala and the mastery brain. And that starts on page 124. Anywho's, but it talks about how there's a war between the two. The ancient brain is rooted in protecting us from danger and in keeping us safe, whereas the mastery brain, I love it, is rooted in growth, learning, progressing, and advancement. As we progress in our lives and try to break out of the comfort zone, the ancient brain and the mastery brain go into a tug of war. There's a battle going on in our heads because you're trying to break free from these old habits and thoughts that are just not working for you, right? You're in this routine, you're in this loop. Is it working for you? Only you can answer that. But anyway, the ancient brain comes in and it's saying, hey, hold up. This routine is safe. This is comfortable. We're used to this. You don't want to go out there. Oh, that new job you want? No. That change in career? No. That relationship? No. It's too scary. We got to stay stuck in our comfort zone because that's where it's safe for us. Our brains are designed to take the easy way out and not do the hard thing. For example, what's easier? Scrolling through your phone, looking at Instagram, or starting on a project you've wanted to start on for a long time? Which one's easier? How about this one? Not asking that person out on a date because you fear rejection. Like we all do. We're human beings, right? We all fear rejection. Or taking the chance, asking that person out, and seeing what happens. Choice is yours. I literally, and this is so true, had a battle going on in my head over the weekend where my ancient brain and my mastery brain were fighting. I was sitting on the couch and I felt this tug of war going on in my mind where I was paralyzed with fear. I remember just sitting there like staring and literally just hearing my ancient brain coming in, chatting away. And then my mastery brain was coming in all over a simple podcast, all over starting this podcast. The ancient brain was saying, well, what if this doesn't work? You have to have everything perfectly planned out before you start, and your first episode has to be perfect. Jeez, I mean, what a headache, right? But my mastery brain was stronger because it reminded me that I'm doing this for a reason. Because I genuinely love having deep conversations, and my purpose here is to convey a message and help others. I don't want to be 85 years old and live my life in regret. I don't want to think to myself, why didn't I just start this podcast? Why didn't I take the chance and see what happens? I have one life to do what is right for me, regardless if it is perceived as perfect or not. At the end of the day, when you take time to sit and reflect, think about your mastery brain. Think about if that is coming through, or is your ancient brain taking over. And does this back and forth interfere? Does this back and forth tie into fear and perfection? Which actually leads us into our main topic of how fear and perfection do work together. So let's get to it. What does fear really mean? Well, it means that we care and we want things to go right the first time, or go the right way the first time, or immediately. And when it doesn't, we fault ourselves. And an intrusive dialogue comes into play. This internal dialogue might be, I'm not good enough. I suck. What if it doesn't work out? I feel like I'm going to be an imposter. What are they going to say? All these different things. All these thoughts enter in. But guess what? They only slow you down. And it causes you to get in your own way and stay stuck in that energy and that mindset, which can be dangerous. Because when you consistently get in your own way, what you truly want to achieve in life will slip away. But what if I tell you that those thoughts, which are stuck in a loop, can be replaced with positive ones, with lighter ones that can help take the pressure off and help you push forward what it is that you truly want to achieve in this life? Ideally, as human beings, we all want things to go right the first time, but that's not reality. Usually, nothing is perfect the first time we do it. It takes a period of trial and error to get it right, to correct something, to perfect it, and patience. Patience and time are key ingredients. For example, since I'm a pastry diva, about a year ago, I decided to create my very own brownie recipe, and I asked myself, what would my ideal brownie be? Okay. What would it taste like? What would it look like? What would the texture be like? Well, there are two different teams or camps when it comes to brownies. You have Team Cake or Team Fudgy, and I am definitely on Team Fudgy. Okay, give me a fudgy brownie any day with extra hot fudge sauce and chocolate chips. I'm good. I might go get one now, but I'm not going to leave you hanging. That's another time. Anywho's, after answering that question, I then told myself, okay, well, how do I create a fudgy brownie? What are the ingredients? What kind of process do I need to follow to yield this final product? What's the science, right? Like, what's the science behind all this? And how do the ingredients interact to create my personal interpretation of a fudgy brownie? From there, I was able to backtrack, research, and I remember making six batches of brownies in a week because I really wanted to figure it out. I wanted to create my interpretation of the perfect brownie. And I did. In this case, 6 time was the charm. The moral of the story is not everything is going to be perfect the first time you do it. And once you release that expectation and the pressure of being perfect the first time, that's when the fun comes in, right? That's when you can breathe. That's where there's freedom. The feeling of ease enters in. The thought process of you know what? I'm going to figure this out, and I will keep figuring it out until I get there comes into play. But that thought process can be applied to anything that you do, not just when you're creating your own recipe. It can be applied to, let's say you want to start your own business or your own entrepreneurial venture, where you start with the end in mind and you backtrack and you take those small incremental steps to get there. However, keep in mind that the path unwinding is not clear and it will not be perfect since you will pivot from time to time. But that just means you're being led on that path for a reason. And it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to make sense to you. For example, told you we have more pastries coming in. Let's say there are two pastry shops standing right next to each other. You walk into the pastry shop on the left and notice that each dessert is identical, it's symmetrical, every detail is exactly the same. Then you tell yourself, you know what, I'm getting out of here and I'm going to that pastry shop on the right. The pastry shop on the right has desserts that are more rustic, artisanal, individualistic. They have a little je ne sais quoi kind of a look to it. You have two separate approaches to creating desserts, right? The point is that the pastry chef's idea of perfection on the left is symmetry. Everything is identical. Every detail is just perfect, right? But the pastry chef's idea of pastries for the shop on the right is more rustic, artisanal, not identical. So you have two completely different perceptions of what perfection is, which shows that perfection, it's all subjective. Another thought is that as human beings, we are not born with knowing how to do things. We figure it out along the way. For example, I love going to the gym, but I wasn't born with dumbbells in my hands. And I started my gym journey later on in life, and I'm still figuring it out. The body gets used to the same exercises, so I need to try new ones and or lift heavier to trick it. I barely played sports when I was a young gen, when I was a kid, and I didn't work out until I was 28. And I did not know that I was going to love working out as much as I do now. So a little story time. When I was in second grade, I was very sassy. I had sassy thoughts. I remember playing for the Rutherford Tomatoes, my hometown team, played soccer, and I was afraid of the ball. I didn't want to kick it. I didn't even want to be on that field. But I remember being on the field and thinking to myself, you better not pass that ball to me because I'm not going to kick it. Mm-mm. And I just stood there. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to play. I was too scared. In sixth grade, I played field hockey for one season. No, thank you. You can have that one. That's not for me. I tried it. It wasn't for me. First grade, I was 6 years old. I had my first ballet class. And I quit after the first day because the teacher told me to shut up. I remember thinking to myself, you're not going to talk to me like that. I'm out of here. And I quit. Like, I don't need your attitude. So I quit. But the point that I'm trying to make is that I wasn't athletic when I was a kid. I wasn't fit when I was in high school or in college. But I started. And I stayed consistent. That's the purpose here. Even now, as I enter this phase of Gen Talks, I write all of my thoughts out. But it's not perfect. I write it all out. I go back and I edit until everything is released onto paper, or in this case, the computer. But the key is to start. Start somewhere, and then it will make sense. Start somewhere, and you will be able to fill the gaps along the way. The key is to start, even though you are scared, because once you begin, I promise that fear will subside. And what you begin will become your routine. And how beautiful is that? Once you start and keep going, it will become second nature. And all of that fear will be gone and out the window. To wrap this all up, I have the mini segment called Note Bene. It's Note, B as in boy, E-N-E, which is Italian for note well. The purpose of this section is for reflection. When you start to feel fear, tune into it and listen to those thoughts, but don't run from them. What are you doing in that moment that causes the anxiety to rush in? Don't let those thoughts stemmed in fear define you. Don't let them stand in your way and own your day. And I just rhymed. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. 2 rhymes, right? I have a whole new career. I could do podcasting and I could be a poet. How do you like that? Anyway, but take a deep breath and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to figure this out. And I'll figure it out one step at a time with one foot in front of the other. And remember the famous tale of the tortoise and the hare, that slow and steady wins the race. I don't know about you, but I feel better already. If you enjoy this topic, please feel free to like, follow, comment, share, or subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/Gen Talks Podcast. And also follow me on Instagram at Gen Talks Podcast. That is Jen, remember with one N, Talks, Talks Podcast. You can also tune in on Spotify as well. Thank you so much for listening. But more importantly, thank you for being you. Wishing you all peace and light. Have a great week. Until next time on Gen Talks, where we talk about the rules of fitness and what those rules are. Stay tuned, take care, and see you soon. Thanks.